Way back when the Athenians invented democracy in 500 BC, their economy started to boom, to go through the roof. And so they wanted to share this with as many people as they could. So they set out to create colonies around the Aegean Sea and teach them democracy and teach them how to build wealth. So everybody could do their own thing, everybody could trade with each other, and everybody could get rich together. This is essentially what the British did during the Industrial Revolution. Once they figured out how to use technology from the Industrial Revolution to significantly increase wealth, they wanted to share this with as many people as possible. So they exported the technology built into the Industrial Revolution to as many countries as they could, with the idea that they would all do their own thing, they would all create wealth, and they could trade with each other, and everybody could get rich together. And this is why the global economy boomed in the 19th century. The individual countries' GDPs started to shoot through the roof, and we've been getting richer and richer ever since. Inside every animal, every living thing, is a genotype and a phenotype. The genotype is the genetic code, the stuff that's in your actual DNA. The phenotype is the stuff your genetic code builds or programs your body to build. The phenotype is what you look like, the color of your eyes, how tall you are, how dense your bones are. But some species, some animals have what's called an extended phenotype. Their DNA programs them to build things outside of their body. Like birds are programmed by their DNA to build nests. Bees are programmed by their DNA to build beehives. Beavers build dams. Humans are also said to have an extended phenotype. We build things outside of our bodies, but we don't build the same things over and over and over like bees and birds and beavers. We look out into the world and we see stuff that exists, and we use this as a base to imagine things that don't yet exist, to come up with an idea in mind of something that could exist. And then you use your intelligence to take these imaginary things and make them real. Now, why do we do this? For the same reason the Athenians and the British did this, so that everybody can build wealth, everybody can trade with each other, and everybody can get rich together. This is the basis of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, that thoughts are things. Your thoughts are things. They are things in the fact that they are tangible, intangible nouns, but they can be tangible nouns. You can make the transition from an intangible noun in your brain to a tangible noun in the world. This is programmed into your DNA. Humans have been doing this since the dawn of time. Essentially, building wealth is exactly what this is. You look out into the world, you see a couple of things that exist, but then you have an imagination where you think how you can combine these things to make a higher order system and a higher order thing, an emergent system, an emergent thing that you can create in the real world. Maybe start a company, maybe start an empire. And humans have been doing this since the dawn of time. Looking out into the world, combining things, and creating things that didn't exist. You have this capacity. You have this ability. Nobody really knows where life on Earth came from. They've made experiments, they've done experiments where they can synthesize amino acids. They put the base chemicals together, they simulate lightning, and the lightning causes the chemicals to organize together, and they create amino acids. But amino acids aren't life. Amino acids are the building blocks of life. So far, nobody has come up with a comprehensive theory as to how life began. There is one theory that's not quite mainstream, but that theory says that extraterrestrials seeded all the planets that they could way back in the day. Now, the reason this isn't accepted as a mainstream theory is because it doesn't satisfyingly answer the question, where did life come from? It still begs the question, where did the original life come from? If extraterrestrials came to our planet, seeded it with the building blocks of life 3 billion years ago, that still doesn't answer where they got life from. And scientists don't like answers that kind of shift the attention. They like to answer the question on a deep biological level. But it is kind of a somewhat accepted theory in some circles that life on Earth came from extraterrestrials. And they first seeded the planet billions of years ago, and then they went to check on all the planets that evolved intelligent life and came back to help us along transition from hunter-gatherers into civilizations. This is essentially what the book Chariots of Fire is about. In the Old Testament, there is allegedly the book of Enoch, which was once included but is no longer included. And in the book of Enoch, they talk about these angelic-like creatures that helped humans along. And some think that these angelic creatures are really extraterrestrials. That's the theory. And if you look in the Old Testament, every time there's an interaction between a human and an angel, the human is terrified of the angel. And so this could be because they are really extraterrestrials. Now, this does have a kind of interesting theory. It does kind of explain things, but there's one problem with the extraterrestrial seeding of Earth answer to where life came from, and that comes when you understand the Drake equation. The Drake equation is a way to estimate how many planets in the entire universe have intelligent life. You start off with all of the stars that exist, an estimate of all the stars that exist in all of reality. And then you calculate or you estimate how many of these stars have a planet orbiting around the star. And then you take that number and try to guess how many of these planets are in the perfect Goldilocks distance from that particular sun to sustain life. Then you take that number and you estimate how many of these planets have the right ingredients on the planet's surface to sustain life, an atmosphere, water, and all that stuff. Then you take that number and you estimate how many of those planets can support life, can actually have life and evolve life. Then you take those planets and you take an estimate of how many of those have evolved into intelligent life. And then you get a specific number of planets based on all these estimates of how many planets there are in the entire universe that have intelligent life. Then you take that number and compare that to the estimated size of the entire universe. Then you imagine or you assume that they're all evenly spread out across space. Then you get an average distance between two planets that have intelligent life. This is where the problem comes up, because this number is huge, hundreds of thousands or millions of light years, which means that on the one hand, it's almost guaranteed that there are millions of planets that have intelligent life. But on the other hand, they're so far apart, millions of light years apart, that based on what we know about science, we'll never come in contact with each other. And based on what we know about science, according to relativity, nobody can go faster than the speed of light. So if you have two planets that are millions of years apart, millions of light years apart, how can one intelligent species go and seed all the planets of the universe and then come back and visit the ones that have evolved into intelligent life? Well, the answer is that these intelligent species, these intelligent extraterrestrials, are so advanced that they've figured out a way to circumvent the limitations of light speed, the limitations of relativity, which means, for lack of a better word, they can essentially teleport from this place to this place, which means they don't have to wait a million years to go from here to here. And this explains how they could, theoretically, first seed all the planets and then visit the planets that have evolved into intelligent life forms and help them along. And just like the Athenians and the British had to help out their colonies figure out democracy, figure out booming economies, figure out the Industrial Revolution technology, these extraterrestrials came back and they helped us along with our civilization evolution. Now, it could be that they communicate with people directly, or it could be that they communicate with people telepathically, or it could be that they're not even here. They could have such advanced technology. They don't need to come here themselves. They can just send probes of some kind, and these probes can somehow whisper into our ears, metaphorically, talk to us through our dreams, talk to us through our intuition to kind of nudge humanity along, because that's how many inventions have come to pass. People have a problem, they're trying to solve the problem. Then they think about the problem before they fall asleep, and in their dreams, the problem solution comes to them. Edison was famous for doing this. He would sit in a chair, he would hold a weight in his hand until he drifted off into sleep. And when he drifted off into sleep, he would drop the weight, he would wake up, and he would immediately write down all the things that came to him through his intuition, through the dream state. This is how many inventors come up with new ideas. This is how many inventors look out into the world and see things that exist and then have an imagination about how to combine these things, and that becomes real. And that's how they build their business. That's how they invent things. And these intuitions may very well be coming by simple, slow, intuitive nudges from extraterrestrials that might be here already. Because if they're so far advanced that they can circumvent the speed of light restrictions, they can have invisibility techniques. They can have probe techniques. They can have ways to be here without us really ever noticing them, except when they communicate with us through our intuition. Now, this all could be a metaphor, or this could be the truth, or this could be something much deeper than both truth or metaphor. But the bottom line is, you have suspicions that there's more to this life than what you've been told. You have suspicions that life is more than just going to work, going home, going to work, going home, waiting for the weekend so you can spend time watching TV. You have a suspicion that you're supposed to do something with your life. You're supposed to create something. You have this deep suspicion that you have this magnificent purpose. You are supposed to do something with your life. Because built into you is the DNA that makes you think about things that aren't real and make them real. To take things out in the world and combine them together in ways that no one has ever thought of before to make something new. Because that's the entire purpose of the universe based on what the universe does. First, when the Big Bang happened, there was only hydrogen, and then helium, and then crushed together in the center of stars, higher order elements of the periodic table, and then molecules, and then complex molecules, and then organic molecules, and then life, and then higher forms of life, and then civilizations. Life seems to be going in the direction, or the universe seems to be going in the direction of higher and higher order, and that is your purpose, to look out into the world and create things of a higher order. Create emergent systems. Combine your ideas with the ideas of somebody else and come up with higher order ideas, emergent ideas, and use those ideas to create something new. To express yourself in a way that has never been done before. To think of things that have never been thought before. You know this is true. You have a deep suspicion. How do you find your purpose? How do you express this? Consider taking some time from day to day to sit in a quiet room, turn off the TV, turn off your phone, put your phone somewhere else, and just listen to your intuition. Because if you pay attention to your intuition, if you become obedient to your intuition and start trying out the ideas that come from deep within you, that might be the thing. One of those ideas might be the thing that sets you on the course of your purpose, to do something magnificent with your life, to do something that will be remembered, to do something to make a difference in the world, to make a difference in many, many lives. You suspect that this is true. No one's going to tell you exactly what that is. You have to go inside your mind and discover what that is. To think about what that is. To experiment with the things you can do. To experiment with how you can talk to people. To experiment with how you can elicit ideas from other people and combine your ideas with their ideas and make something new. Think about this and let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to learn more about how to improve your creativity and intuition, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you next time.